Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at 100 episodes of Forged in Ohio. If you missed the announcement on social media, I'm doing something pretty special for this milestone. I'm sure most of you know that Forged in Ohio episodes drop on Mondays at 11 a.m. as they have episodes 1 through 99. Well, to celebrate episode 100, I decided to make this the week of 100 episodes. That means a standard edition of Forged in Ohio will drop Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. on all podcast platforms and, of course, on the Forged in Ohio YouTube channel. So you'll be treated to 5 episodes of Forged in Ohio this week, with each guest being a staple of the first 99 episodes of the podcast. It took a lot of work. I hope you all enjoy it. And without a further ado, let's launch the week of 100 episodes. All the unique characters.
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legs.
All the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen, for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
OH.
IO!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first installment of the week of 100 episodes for Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, the host and one-man band of the podcast. When thinking of guests to have on the show for this special milestone, for this special week, this fighter was one that was top of mind. This marks the 4th appearance on Forged in Ohio for him. The last time he was on the show, he dropped some life advice that I still think about to this day. He's a 2-0 pro fighter out of Ronin Training Center. There truly is only one Max Metzgar. Thanks for coming on the show, Max, and welcome to Forged in Ohio's week of 100 episodes.
Thanks for the warm welcome, Jake. I always appreciate the introduction. It's very flattering. Congrats on 100 episodes, dude. Man, we were just talking about it a second ago before we started. You just look up one day and all of a sudden you did 100. So congrats to you, man. That's a freaking awesome milestone.
Thanks, man. It means a lot. And like I said, before you start churning these things out every single Monday, and then all of a sudden you're at 100, and I knew I had to do something special for the occasion to celebrate 100 episodes, and I knew that had to involve Max Metzgar in some way or another, and I'm happy to get you
I'm
on
good
here.
for it. Yes, sir. I'm good for it, bro.
Absolutely, man. So we do have a fight to talk about from the last time you joined the show. You picked up a win at Ohio Combat League 31 against Marcus Williamson. Can you walk us through that fight and the first round submission win?
Yeah, it wasn't much of a fight, man. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the pay-per-view back. I actually feel kind of bad about how I handled myself after the fight. I felt like I was just kind of being, you just get so caught up in the moment and you get so excited to go in there and compete. And then whenever your competition isn't very competitive, I don't know. I don't know if you got the chance to watch it or not, but watching it back on the pay-per-view, I kind of felt like I handled myself in a way that just seemed a little bit more arrogant than usual. I wasn't really happy just walking around the octagon, flipping my hands up like I'm just too cool for school. I kind of didn't like how I handled that victory, but I got the submission. Was it an arm triangle, head and arm choke, and about a minute in, came out. I was expecting him to come out orthodox. He came out southpaw. Came out, landed a good leg kick that buckled his leg. Got a little bit overzealous on a 1-2. Committed my base. Kind of leaped into it from across the void from a little bit too far away, without kind of like measuring, and my back foot came up off the ground, and we ended up in a chest-to-chest over-under situation. Drove him to the cage, outside trip, took him down, wrapped in the head and arm choke, and got the sub. But It's a weird position, man. I was fighting a guy on about 2 weeks notice, and no disrespect to Marcus, I don't think he trains very much. I think he came for a payday, but it was weird because going into the fight, it was kind of supposed to be like a gimme almost. You know what I mean? Like making up for lost time. Here's an opponent, short notice. Go ahead, get the dub. And because of that, the lack of fear from a legitimate, worthy opponent who's a true threat. You can't convince yourself to look at your opponent that way if it's not how you actually look at them. You know what I mean? And like I said, no disrespect to Marcus. You respect everybody that gets in there, but I don't think he's taking this whole MMA thing very seriously. It's certainly not as serious as I'm taking it, but it's kind of weird going in there with this mindset like, I'm supposed to school this dude. I can do whatever I want to him. I'm gonna go out there and just kind of play it by ear and see if I can pull off some cool shit. Like that's just not the mindset that I'm in the habit of going into fights with. My whole amateur career, every single fight that I had after my third fight was for a belt against high level competition. And I kind of had the same mindset going into my first fight against Dom Johns. Again, no disrespect to Dom Johns, but he's not a Graham Hunter. You know what I mean? He's not a Max Metzgar. He's not a Miles Robinson. You know what I mean? These guys that I train with me, these guys that I compete against. And I'm looking forward to getting back in there against somebody who's a legitimate, worthy competitor who's trying to make it to the UFC and make this their life. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
When it comes to the quality of your opponent like that, does it make it harder to actually get motivated going into the fight? I know, especially for this one, for OCL 31, like you said, you only really had about 2 weeks notice prior to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always an exciting time to get in the cage. Obviously, you train hard day in and day out to be able to go out there and put on a show. Yeah, like I said, you can't manufacture that fear. You can't manufacture that, oh shit, this is the moment. I'm facing another person who's dedicated themselves to really trying to be the greatest martial artist that they could possibly be, and now it's time to figure out who's greater. You know what I mean? You can't manufacture that when you know that your opponent is half in, half out on the martial arts lifestyle. Yeah, so going into the fight before I made the walk, the whole thing was fucking weird. I mean, the DJ didn't play my music, so like they had a hard time with the music backstage. So I'm supposed to walk, and then it's dead silence, no music is playing. So then I walk over to the DJ, and I'm like, "Bro, what's going on? Like, just play something," because I had like a special song that this DJ made for me that's like a mixture of a couple different songs, kind of like a special walkout thing for me. But he was having a hard time with that file, so I was just like, bro, just play Mad Max by Future. And so that was just kind of a weird start to the whole thing. And yeah, man, it was just weird. Like I said, I saw him at the weigh-ins, and I just knew that how the fight was supposed to go. You know what I mean? I just knew he had nothing for me. So going into the fight, I just didn't feel right. Like I just felt like it just didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I'm not even gonna get into a fight right now. Like I'm supposed to go out there and just school this dude. It's just a weird feeling. You know what I mean? When you're used to going in there and you're ready to really truly compete, just a weird feeling. So what I noticed was kind of feeling weird like that. And the thing that I left out, Jake, was that I had two amateurs on my own team, Mad Max's fight team, who also competed that same night. So I took this fight on 2 weeks' notice whenever they already had contracts in place. So going from cornering both of them to then fighting, trying to wear the coach's hat and then switch gears into the fighter's hat, right? Like I'm running around backstage, making sure they got their gloves and their hands are wrapped. And earlier in the day, I'm helping them with their weight cut, and I'm getting our fucking team T-shirts made and shit. You know what I mean? So my head was just all over the place. It was a really unique experience, a weird experience, one that I won't do again. I won't be competing on the same card as any of my students moving forward, but it was a cool thing to say that I was able to do, that I was able to compete on the same night that I also was coaching. You know what I mean? That's kind of a cool thing. But like I said, I took the fight on about 2 weeks' notice, knowing that they already were going to compete. And it was really just making up for lost time. You know, I've been sitting out with this Bellator contract, just sitting on the shelf for so long. Whenever the promotion came to me with the opportunity to compete, I was like, of course, you know, I gotta jump on it, of course. So just put myself in kind of a weird position, kind of flirting with the idea of biting off more than you can chew. But, you know, I got the finish in under a minute. Maybe it was a minute and 14 seconds or something. So didn't really bite off more than I could chew. But I definitely noticed that the mind space that I was in going into the ring was not the mind space that I've, you know, been in the past, making that walk due to all the reasons that, you know, I just stated.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had kind of learned your lesson about cornering fighters on the same card that you're competing on. It sounds like you did there. But given that, and also like you mentioned, the complications of the walkout, something small as like your music not playing can throw a fighter off. I know that might sound ridiculous, but it's true. When you're standing in the cage, are you locked in? Like when the cage door locks, are you totally focused and in on the fight, or are there still distractions kind of running through your mind as you're preparing to fight for the second time as a pro?
No, certainly no distractions. Once I walk up the stairs and I feel the metal of the stairs underneath my bare feet, you know, I say my little prayer, and then I'm locked in. But what I will say I noticed was, you know, fighting is a balance between letting go and surrendering and just letting the energy and fire and aggression just pour out of you, and a balance between that, just letting go and trying to stay composed, to stay present in your mind, to pick your shots, observe the patterns that are transpiring, and make the adjustments that you're you know are required of you within the fight. But what I noticed was very similar to my Graham Hunter fight. I don't know if you remember from that podcast, but I got like overly emotional trying to hype myself up. I think my best performance I've ever had in the octagon was probably against Dom Johns, where I just, you know, I had a 10-8 round in the first, got the finish in the second, and pretty much just brutalized him for the entire time and didn't take any damage whatsoever. And going into that fight, I was the calmest I've ever been. It felt like I was just walking down the street about to go get a fucking, you know, cappuccino or something, walking into the octagon. I was super calm. And, you know, because of that, I think that was the reason that I was able to have such a good performance. And not that I didn't have a good performance in this last outing, you know, based on just the outcome. But like I said, my plan was to go in and try to settle in on the feet a little bit and see if I could touch them up and kind of draw the process out of the fight to try to get a little more experience out of it rather than just scratching them off in the first minute. Like I knew I could, you know what I mean? I knew that I could based on the film that I'd seen on the guy. I knew that I could take him down and get him out of there pretty much immediately. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to settle in. I wanted to, and, you know, like I said, because I was feeling kind of weird before the fight, I just like chose to get myself all amped up and all excited. And he was back there mean mugging me, trying to look at me crazy. And I was like, I'm about to fuck this dude up, bro. I'm like, who the hell are you trying to intimidate? So I intentionally let that bother me. So then I could kind of change my state of consciousness to get all excited and shit like I'm about to do a football game because I was just feeling weird. And, you know, as a result of that, like I said, you know, I got too eager to land that cross, and I just jumped in on it from too far away. And then the next thing you know, we're grappling. And it was weird because in my head, I was like, oh, no. In the fight, I remember like being in the over-unders, and I was like, oh, no, we're grappling. I didn't want to grapple. And then I started to go for an inside trip. But then I decided not to finish the inside trip because I was like, oh, no, I want to strike. And then I got him pinned against the cage, and I was like, okay, let me break from this position and strike. So it was like just weird. Like I was trying to force some shit that wasn't there because I was trying to work my strike. You know what I mean? It was just a weird thing. Whenever you're fighting somebody that actually is a fucking good opponent, there's no, oh, I want to try to do this. I want to try to do that. You know what I mean? You're in there and you take what you can get. So it was a little bit of a weird experience, man. Like I said, I'm looking forward to hopefully getting in there again with somebody who's, you know, a worthy opponent that's going to test me and not just be someone that is just, you know, that's just going to kind of roll over.
What are some things that you can do to almost replicate the way you were feeling going into that Dom Johns performance where, like you said, it was probably the best performance and the best version of Mad Max Metzgar that we've seen? Maybe what are some things that you did during that training camp and on fight day that you can bring with you towards future fights of yours?
Yeah, it's been the same thing for all my fights in the past. Um, the Dom Johns one I think is a great example of just it really being like zened out like that. But it comes down to all these different, performance-based routines, practices, habits to put yourself in a position to be in the right state of mind before you actually begin the competition. So you want to have the same warm up that you do every day in the gym. You want to do that exact same warm up routine before you fight, because you want your body and you want your mind to treat the competition that you're about to enter into just like any other day at the office. You want it to feel like it's just a spar. It's just I can stay loose. I can stay creative. When you start to get that tunnel vision, you start to, oh my God, this is the moment. You know what I mean? That's whenever you get that tunnel vision, your creativity starts to go out the window. It's harder to get into that flow. So, what I usually do is I just do the same exact routine that I do before I warm up every day at the gym, to kind of just bring me back into a familiar place, get my body going through the motions of something that's just so familiar. And just being to myself, rather than running around trying to make sure that my fighters have their hands wrapped and you got the gloves don't fit right. And okay, where's your mouthpiece? You got your cup in, just being by myself, do my mindfulness practice, breathe, bring my attention to the present moment, focus on the sensation of my body and moving and finding that rhythm in my bounce. All the things that I usually would do.
One of my favorite parts of your second pro bout was your fight shorts. Tell me a little bit about the Ohio
Yeah.
State themed kit you were wearing.
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, I had those designed for me by an Ohio State Buckeye. Fellow's name is Shane. They own a clothing brand company called Kaizen. They got some really cool stuff, actually. If anybody listening wants to check them out, they got some cool street wear, some cool shit. But yeah, I'm the fighting Buckeye, bro. I'm trying to play off of this audience. Being an Ohio State graduate, being a Buckeye, living in Columbus. And it's just true to who I am. You know what I mean? Like I was just a regular college kid, bro. I was just a regular college student going through the motions, trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do with myself. I know I told you I was in the business school, dropped out of the business school. I was just a regular guy on campus, bro. I was washing dishes in the Kennedy Commons. You know what I mean? I was just a regular college student. So, I'm trying to kind of get behind that audience of all these kids who, they're like, oh my God, this dude's an MMA fighter. I'm like, bro, I was literally just like you. You know what I mean? I was just like you. And, you don't have to commit to being an MMA fighter, but, whatever your little entrepreneurial dream, whatever your little calling is, go chase that shit, bro. You know what I mean? And it's also just fun to wear the scarlet and gray. You know what I mean? It feels great. It feels great to suit up for a battle in the scarlet and gray. I actually designed those shorts myself, though. I did pretty good, didn't I? I thought that was pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how involved you were in the process of designing them, and even those like Buckeye leaves, the stickers on the back,
Yeah.
man, it looks really
Yup.
sharp.
Yeah, I'm an artist, bro. I'm creative. You know what I'm saying? I'm a martial artist. That's what I love to do is create, bro. Before I was doing MMA, I was making my own clothing. You know what I mean? I was making music. I've always just kind of had a disposition to, like being creative. It's always something that I've really enjoyed. So I'm glad you liked the shorts, though. I thought those were sweet too. We actually got if you've ever seen Ohio State football team's blackout gear, we got a pair of the blackout shorts as well. So might wear those on the next outing, but we'll have to see here. The gladiator slits are a good little fucking addition too. The gladiator slits down on the side, those are hard to find. So it took us a while to find a manufacturer that would be able to make them like that. But I was super happy with how they turned out. I actually signed them and I'm raffling them off for I'm gonna raffle them off.
Talking with Mad Max Metzgar, aka the Fighting Buckeye, here on Forged in Ohio. Every time you join the show, we talk about your brand and all the things you have going on for yourself. Well, the latest that I noticed on your social media was a raffle at Midway where people could enter by taking a body punch from you. Talk me through how all of this came together.
Yeah, bro. Trying to build the brand, trying to build the Fighting Buckeye brand. I'm a businessman, bro. You know what I mean? I'm an entrepreneur. I own two different businesses. I'm a professional MMA fighter, so I'm in the habit of constantly just reaching out to different businesses in Columbus and seeing if they want to partner up. You know what I mean? I think entrepreneurship and community is all about small businesses working together, and in a small up and coming city like Columbus, we can all build each other up, and we can all scratch each other's back, and it's a win-win for everybody involved most of the time. So I've just been reaching out to bars, reached out to Midway. I was like, hey, I'm an undefeated MMA fighter, former Buckeye. You guys want to do like a meet and greet? And they were all over it. So, I went out there, and we had a pretty good showing. We definitely had a good time. They were eating that shit up. All the drunk frat boys coming through Midway were eating that shit up, bro. They were having a great time. I was hitting them with a 16-ounce boxing glove with my left hand, and I wasn't quite getting the reactions that I was looking for. I was hoping to be like dropping people to the body. And when they said they wanted a 10 out of 10, I asked them. I said, what do you want here? Damn, fucking bug just flew in my ear. What do you want here? On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you want? And whenever they said 10, and then I uncorked that 10 on them, and they looked at me like, bro, that's all you got. That shit made me mad as hell, Jake. It made me mad as hell. So I ended up taking the 16-ounce glove off and put one of those 6-ounce MMA gloves on my right hand about halfway through the night. And that's whenever shit got serious. It was fun though, man. It was a good time. They definitely want to have me back. And when we did it, it was during fall break, so it wasn't quite as many students as would have been there on a typical weekend at Ohio State. So they said that they're gonna have me back, and we're thinking maybe next round do tie round kicks to the quad instead of body shots, but that might not be a good idea. That's just kind of something we're flirting with the idea of.
I swear, Max, we have the same mind. I was literally going to ask you about doing this next time, if you were going to go back to the body punches or do leg kicks, because I know I've heard multiple stories of people that have no fighting experience receiving a leg kick and like they can't walk for another day or two. So maybe that's more effective than the body punch.
Yeah, that might sit them down, bro. That might sit them down and just end their whole night. I'd hate to do that. That's not what it's all about, I was having them tag me on Instagram and to enter the raffle, you got to take a picture with me. Just trying to get it out there. We got a couple more followers, but more than anything, just getting an opportunity to connect with some kids that are, going to be fans of the sport, and just making those connections with people on campus.
Do you know how many people stepped up and received the body punch from you that night?
Yeah, I think it was about 35. Probably about 35 kids came through and took the body shot.
Do you get tired after having to throw that many body shots, or were you fresh the entire time?
No, but I'll tell you, my left shoulder was a little bit sore from not warming up at all. Usually before I throw anything hard like that, I get a good warm-up in, and we're just sitting out there in the cold. It was a little cold on that night. My shoulder was a little sore the next day, but no, man, I'm a freaking machine. Are you kidding me? I can't get tired from fucking around with these kids throwing body shots.
Did anyone show up and then think better of the idea when they saw you and decided against taking the body shot?
No, not really. There was a couple kids where the kid in the back of the little group didn't want to do it, and then once his buddies did it, then he kind of nutted up and decided that he would do it too. But there was definitely some kids who were like, don't force me to do it. But I was being really, I was trying to be as approachable and as friendly as possible, not trying to stand there like I'm about to fucking break your rib cage, kid. Come get it. You know what I mean? I was just like, come on, come inside, man. They got a shot for taking a shot. You know what I mean? So I think that probably helped incentivize them a little bit, giving them one of those nasty little fucking those little shots you get at the bar. What do they call those? Bombs. We used to take those all the time back in the day. Not anymore though.
It looked like you weren't holding back at all in the video on social media. Did you have a favorite reaction from anyone who ended up taking a punch that night?
Yeah, I forget the kid's name. He'll have to forgive me, but it was the one kid that they had on video, like keeled over, hands on his knees, like he couldn't fucking breathe. I was like, that's what we were looking for. That's the kind of reaction that I was hoping for whenever you say 10 out of 10, and I fucking smack you right in the solar plexus. You better be bending over about to puke. Makes me feel like I hit like a bitch. The thing about body shots though is like usually you don't see them coming and you can't be flexing. You know what I mean? If you even get grazed by a body shot on your solar plexus when you're not flexing your abs, it's the worst thing ever. But if you can sit there and like flex and be ready for it, it's not, you know, I mean, it's really not that bad. You know, if you're ready for it, it's a whole different story than if they get to slip it in there when you're thinking you got to be guarding your face, and then next thing you know that the solar plexus gets touched and now you're gasping for air.
Man, once again, this is Mad Max Metzgar with us here on Forged in Ohio. I asked you last time you joined the show if you felt like you had to remind everyone of who Mad Max Metzgar was with how long it took you to get the pro debut and the Bellator contract. Do you feel like you've done a good job of that so far through 2 pro fights?
Hell no, bro. I'm on a day-to-day basis, bro, just angry. Like on a day-to-day basis, I'm just angry that I cannot get more fights. I'm supposed to be 5 fights into my pro career by now. And, you know, I trust the Lord above that this is unfolding in the way that it's supposed to, and that I'm getting all this experience with the time off training, and that when I do compete against somebody next, I'll be in a good position because I've continued to get better throughout all this time off. But I'm just angry, bro. Like, no, I don't think I've done a good job of reminding everybody who I am. You know, I'm supposed to be having a couple professional belts by now as far as I'm concerned, you know. But things are unfolding the way they're unfolding. You know, for Ohio Combat League on November 9th, we've been turned down now by 8 professional MMA fighters have said no to the matchup against me for November 9th at Ohio Combat League. And I'm not going to drop any names on this podcast and air out the spot, but I fucking could, Jake. But it's just crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to fight me either, you know, especially for a pro debut early in your career. But at the end of the day, bro, like, we're doing this. If you're a pro fighter and you're doing this, you can't be running from any matchups at your weight class. I'll fight anybody in the world in my weight class. I don't care if it's Islam Makhachev or fucking Saryukian or Charles Oliveira or Dustin Poirier or whoever, dude. I'll fight any of those guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know that I would win, but I'll fight those motherfuckers, though. Believe it. I would sign that shit today. So to be out here thinking you're going to make it to the UFC and you're trying to pad your record to make sure that you can get on Dana White's Contender Series, that mindset is just the antithesis of the fighting spirit, bro. You know what I mean? Like, the only way that you're going to do it is if you just throw yourself in there and figure out if you're the man or not. Figure out if you sink or if you swim. But all this padded record, like, I don't want to fight anybody until I get to 5-0, like, this shit's killing me, bro. It's absolutely killing me. I'm about to move back up to 170 again. Everybody forgot I'm really a lightweight. I'm really a 155er. And I'm about to have to go up to 170 and take a fight against a bigger body just because they think they got an advantage on me at 170. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, this guy's a 55er coming up to 170. I'll take that fight. Okay. Let's see then. I guess that's what we're going to have to do. But it's definitely been frustrating, Jake. It's definitely been frustrating. I've been reaching out to all these different promotions, and everyone's saying the same thing, that, you know, that no one wants to take the fight.
Yeah, I understand that, man. And this comes as a 2-0 pro fighter. You know, I know you said that you wouldn't want to fight yourself either, but are you surprised that you're running into this obstacle now as a 2-0 when I feel like normally that's something people run into later on in their pro MMA career?
Exactly, right? When you're 5-0 or you're 6-0, you're like the fucking guy on the come up of the UFC. I'm only 2-0. Exactly, right? I'm only 2-0. And I was just thinking to myself and talking to my teammates, I almost wish that I had lost as an amateur. You know what I mean? Because then the record would be a little bit less intimidating. This guy's actually lost before. But when you go to Topology and it's just all green, you know, 9 fights, 7 finishes. You know, they're like, fuck that. I don't want to fight that guy. But what are you going to do, bro? Like I said, all my buddies that I train with are the only motherfuckers game enough to actually fight me. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna fight my teammates. I'm not gonna go out there and fight Miles or Josiah or you know what I mean, Kobe Woodall. I'm not gonna Melvin Harris. I'm not gonna go fight those guys. But those are the guys that those are the guys that I know would probably take that fight.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's like I can obviously tell the emotions and like the anger behind you about this scenario that you're in right now, but is there anything of like nobody wants to fight you because you are so good? Only your record is only 2-0, but the game itself, there's a reason why people don't want to fight you. Or do you ever see it like, man, I'm just that good, and ever feel humble about it? I guess I don't know if that's the right word to use.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Humble's definitely not the right word. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'm that good that nobody wants to fight me. Oh, like,
Yeah.
but that's just not a good, that's just not a good way to be. And I think I am that good that no one should want to fight me, but I don't know, bro. You know what I mean? It's like I'm just gonna have to take the tough fight too. Like I said, I mean, I'm gonna fight anybody that I can get a fight against, even if it's at 170. And like I said, bro, just let the dice fall how they're gonna fall. You know what I mean? Yeah, the last thing that I can do is continue to wait out, looking for a good, favorable matchup. You know what I mean? I got these 2 gimme matchups, did what I was supposed to do, made up for a little bit of lost time. And now it's time to get back on the horse and fight some guys who are actually worth their weight in sand. And that's what I want. You know what I mean? I never wanted these easy fights where I just whoop on these guys. What I got into this sport for was to figure out what I'm really made of. You know what I mean? To see how far I can take it. When that moment of truth arises and you get punched in the mouth and then you go for the takedown and the takedown gets stuffed and then you get punched in the mouth again, who are you in that moment? What are you going to do when that happens? And that's always what I've wanted to find out. That's always what I've wanted to do is push myself to that limit and see what I'm truly capable of. So it doesn't scare me to take any hard fights. You know what I mean? Win, lose. I'm 27 years old. I'm going to have a long. Important is just staying active and continuing to test yourself so that you can improve. Yeah.
What would you say to other fighters at 155 in Ohio MMA, maybe even 172, but to maybe entice them to sign that dotted line to fight you next? I know you had 9, I think it was, guys who did decline the fight for November 9th. Like, is there a message that you could give these guys to sign that line?
I mean, I've been DMing dudes who have a good record. They were 5-0 as amateur, 2-0 as a pro. I've been DMing them just, telling them, like, fight me. You know what I mean? And like I said, I could drop a couple names on here of some dudes in the past who said they wanted to fight me and wanted to do the whole macho man thing in person. Oh, you see me at a weigh-in for one of my teammates and you want to fucking, oh, yeah, you think you're Mr. Bellator. If I got my hands on you, this, and this. But then you send that fucker the contract and all of a sudden it's crickets. You know what I mean? And I've been DMing these dudes, asking them to fight me politely, essentially, and then they say no, and then I just call them a coward. You know what I mean? I just start appealing to that ego, see if I can pull that out of them. Get them a little bit angry at me and want to fight me to get them to sign that line. And I've been telling the promotion, I don't even want to say this on the podcast, but I've been telling the promotion I'll come out of my own pocket to pay these motherfuckers to sign on the dotted line. I'll give up some of my purse to give to these dudes just to get them in there with me. And, it sounds arrogant. It sounds crazy, but the truth is I need a damn fight, and no one is stepping up to the plate to fight me. No one wants to fight Mad Max. So if I gotta pay you a little bit of extra money out of my own pocket, the cheese coming in from these local fights is not that much. You know what I mean? What I'm looking for is to get that win, to continue to advance the career in the direction of the ultimate goal, which is to be in the UFC. So, like I said, I've been DMing these guys, calling them out of their name. I've been telling the promotion I'll give them some of my purse so we can just get them to sign. I don't know what else I got to do, Jake. I don't know what the hell. What do I got to do? Go up to 185? What do I?
So when do you expect to make that third walk to the cage as a pro fighter? Are you trying to get in there before the end of 2024?
I got to. I wanted to get 2 more in before the year was over. I was actually just texting with the matchmaker today for Ohio Combat League, Brandon Higdon. We're either gonna have a guy for November 9th, or this is gonna be the 9th or 10th guy who says no. You know what I mean? He was just texting me today about this guy that he's going back and forth with. He's seeing if he wants to take it. Hopefully he does. Fingers crossed. Hopefully he does. 6-6 pro, this fella. So, well experienced, be a step up in competition. But I watched a little film on him, and I feel very confident that I would handle business in the way that's been reflected in my past contests. But yeah, I want to get one in November and then another one in December hopefully for Cage Thunder or for any other promotion. Another one before I turn 28 in March. And then this time next year, Dana White's Contender Series. I've pretty much given up on the Bellator contract. It's worthless to me at this point as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sitting around here waiting for them to live up to their word and live up to the pen and paper of the contract that we signed, which I just think is so crazy that they cannot get held liable to actually fulfill their end of the contract. But what can I do? You know what I mean? What can I do besides just continue to get better and continue to prepare and go out of my way to reach out to promotions and try to get a fight? That's all I can do. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's the first time I've heard you say that. Even last time you joined the show, you were like, I asked you what your goals were, and you said to become the 155-pound champion for Bellator. And that's not something that a lot of people come on this show and say. It's usually UFC, and only the UFC. For you, when did that transition happen? When did you start looking towards the UFC rather than Bellator?
Yeah, my dream was to go to Bellator. For whatever reason, I just saw that in my head as my path was, okay, Bellator is signing guys in the early stages of their pro career, whereas the UFC doesn't do that. So my vision and my goal that I was working towards attaining was getting on that developmental contract with Bellator. I manifested that, did that. As you know, booked the fight. Fight fell through 6 days before. I was down to wait, about to get on the airplane. Guy tells me they pulled out. Since then, Bellator got bought by PFL, different management. I've fallen to the very bottom of the bucket list of their priority. And I've just lost faith that they're going to do anything for me. You know what I mean? And the way that they've handled me and the way that I've heard that they've handled other, prominent MMA fighters like Douglas Lima, I forget the other guy's name, the 185-pounder, Gregor Mousasi. There's a lot of guys in Bellator and the PFL that are having unfavorable things to say about the management and about the organization. And, from my own experience, it's been very unprofessional. You know what I mean? I'm probably, if any of them listen to this, I'm probably going to be in the shit house, but who gives a fuck? They're not doing anything for me anyway. So, as far as I care, I've pivoted my trajectory and my vision to the Dana White's Contender Series route and getting into the UFC that way. That just seems like the appropriate thing to do, as I have no reason to continue to put my faith in Bellator. They haven't shown me anything that, we keep in touch with them, and they kind of just string me along just a little bit. You know what I mean? Oh, we're looking to do this. Oh, we're gonna put them on here, right? And nothing, so it's all good, man. You know what I mean? The UFC is where I should be anyway. You know what I mean? And it is what it is.
Fair enough, man. Well, you're currently the second-ranked pro welterweight in Ohio, even though I know 155 is more of a home for you.
I'm the number 1 pro welterweight in Ohio. That dude Andy Law is washed up, bro. I'm trying to get a fight against him. He doesn't want to fight me, man. They know how it would go, bro. They all know how this would go. But I'm the number 1 welterweight, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm the number 1 lightweight as well.
Okay, well, fair enough, man. I know you're hungry for these fights. I know you want to fight November, December, before your birthday in March.
Okay, if you say so.
How important is it to manage each step you take along the way, as you are only 2-0, or do you really not think of those things and make sure you're taking those appropriate challenges at the right time?
No, I mean, after the long layoff, it was good to get those 2 favorable matchups from my pro debut and the most recent fight that I had. It was good to, shake a little ring rust off, whatever you want to call it. But like I said, like everyone wants to sit around and treat this like it's boxing. but the pool of competition is so much smaller. There's not all these boxers. You know what I mean? There are all these boxers that get groomed and they fight a guy who's 1-30 and they get brought up by a promotion. It's just not like that in MMA. And everybody on the regional scene right now wants to take these more favorable matchups to try to build up your record to get to Dana White's Contender Series. You know what I mean? That's what everyone's trying to do. Get the 5-0, 6-0, whatever it is. Because you take that 1 or 2 losses, and now all of a sudden you got to be 9-1. You got to be, you got to be 10-2 to get on Dana White's Contender Series. So everyone's tiptoeing around the tough fights except for a couple guys. Like I said, bro, it is what it is. The worst thing you can do is sit out and let time go by, let Father Time continue to take years off of your longevity, of your athletic potential. While you're getting older because you're waiting for an easy fight. You got to get in there and see if you fucking sink or you swim. You know what I mean? It's going to be what it's going to be. You can't run from anything in this game. You're scared of guys on the local scene. What the hell do you think is going to happen on Dana White's Contender Series? You know what I mean? You're going to fight some guy from Brazil or Dagestan, and you've been running from the guys on the regional Ohio scene, you're going to get fucking killed. You know? So it's like you're either doing it or you're not doing it. You know? I understand the logical business mindset. Okay, I got to take the good fights. I got to take the smart fights, right? But that's the job of your manager. And, it's just unfortunate. What it's going to be is everybody sitting around. None of the tough guys want to fight each other. And then none of the tough guys are going to make it because they got to sit out for a year in between fights because no one wants to fight each other. So like I said, man, I'm just trying to stay busy. I'm going to go back up to 170 if I have to. Hopefully, I can go back down to 155. I've been losing a little bit of weight in anticipation for this November 9th bout with Ohio Combat League, anticipating going back down to 155. But I'm just ready to fight, man. You know what I mean? I'm just ready to fight. Injuries are constant. You know what I mean? Just ready to fight, bro. It's always going to be something. There's always going to be something. But like I said, I'm 27, bro. You know what I mean? I want to fight till I'm 35 or 36. I'm only 2 fights in. You know what I mean? You got guys, Ilya Taporia is 27. He was born in January. I was born in March 1997. The fucker's already the world champ. You know what I mean? I feel like we got to get going. We got to keep it moving. Everyone has their own path, and, I'd be lying if I didn't say I felt like I was in a little bit of a rush, because I am. You know what I mean? But that's what keeps me hungry, and you know what I mean? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Well, I'll be looking forward to the next fight for Mad Max Metzgar. Before we wrap up, just anything you want to shout out here at the back end of the podcast, I'll give you the floor, my friend.
That was the fastest one we've done, huh? Man, I usually get on here. I get on the soapbox thinking I'm Aristotle. No, man. I think we covered all the bases. It's been, it's been having a hard time getting a fight. I'm having a hard time not just name dropping people on this podcast right now and calling them out their name for being a smart businessman and not wanting to fight me. But it is what it is, bro. You know what I mean? God is good. I'm blessed. I'm going to continue to do what I love, which is to train and try to become the greatest martial artist that I could be. And I'm having fun doing it. You know what I mean? I got my personal training business, Fight for Your Fitness, which is, thriving, doing well there, helping people make a change in their life. That gives me just meaning and a good day to day. It keeps me humble, keeps me down to earth. I got a couple fighters right now that are all in the early budding stages of their amateur career that I'm helping bring up. And life's good, bro. You know what I mean? Life is good. Can't complain. I'm training at Ronin Training Center, getting my boxing up with Rising Stars Boxing down in Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Ryan Dickey. Training with Vitor Olivara, doing the Nogi, one of the greatest to ever do it. I've been getting work in with Matt Brown and Miles and Josh Pereira and Josiah down at Immortal. I got the best strength and conditioning coach in the game, Dylan Seeley, that you just had on this podcast recently. That dude's a freaking genius. What'd I tell you about that guy, huh? He's a freaking genius, that guy. He's an X factor, bro. He's an X factor for sure. But I got all the pieces that I need. I got all the pieces in place. I got world-class coaches all around me. I don't feel like I got to move to Las Vegas, train at Extreme Couture, move to American Top Team. I got all the pieces I need around me. And I'm just ready to go, bro. You know what I mean? I'm just ready to go. Someone sign on the dotted line. Hopefully we can get 2 more fights in before this year ends. 1 or 2 more before I turn 28 in March. And, this time next year, Dana White's Contender Series, man.
All right.
Congrats, by the way, on getting made to be the Cage Thunder matchmaker, man. That's a pretty sweet. That's you know what I mean. That's a legit thing. You know what I mean. People must respect your intellect when it comes to understanding the fight game. You know what I mean. And that's just got to be a good confirmation. Yeah, you know, it's got to be a good confirmation to you that people believe in you, that you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about. So get me in there, Jake. Get someone to sign the contract? Would you?
Well, I appreciate that, Max. And you mentioned the Dylan Seeley interview that I did on episode 98 of Forged in Ohio. I think the most fascinating thing from that interview was him talking about how he worked on the vision of MMA fighters. I thought that was incredible. Yeah. Has he helped you with that type of thing before?
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm with Dylan every Tuesday and Thursday morning for the past 2 years. The first camp that I got with him was the Graham Hunter fight. I've been with him, just like I said, 2 days a week, every week. And he's got us doing all kinds of crazy shit, man. You know what I mean? You want to talk about fascia density, you know, he's got all different kinds of things that he does. You know, he's got different eye tests that we got to do on each eye, reaction time drills. There's all kinds of really high-level stuff that he's got us doing, you know. He's so good at seeing where your body is holding weight in positions that would be more optimal if your weight was held in this different part of your foot. So we're going to work on this so your hip capsule can open up more. You know what I mean? The guy's a genius, bro. The guy's a genius. He's totally an X factor. Don't tell him I said that. Don't tell him I said that. But
well, hopefully he's listening right now, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. He's been a real mentor of mine, man. A lot of the stuff that my personal training, I have to credit to him, because I just steal a lot of the stuff that he makes us do. And that's what I got my clients doing. My clients are like, "Oh, dude, you're so smart, bro." I'm like, "I know, right?" You know, shout out to Dylan. I got different exercises. I call it Dylan's curl circuit, or you know, I got Dylan's version of the glute ham raise, or whatever it is. But yeah, man.
All right. Well, thanks again, Max, for coming on Forged in Ohio for a fourth time, in part to celebrate 100 episodes of the podcast. Yes. And you've been very generous with your time over the last 2 years, so I can't thank you enough for that. And you know what's next for the Fighting Buckeye? It's the OHIO chant. So help me out here, man. Sir.
OH. Baby. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Jake, thanks again, man, for giving us all the platform to come on here and get to tell our story, bro. All of Ohio MMA, we appreciate you, man. Seriously. So congrats again on the 100 episodes, and thank you for thinking of me, bro. I really appreciate it.
Of course, bro. I appreciate you, and don't forget about this show when you become an even bigger star.
I'm not even a star yet, bro. I'm just starting to bloom. They're trying to hold me back, but hopefully for Cage Thunder, I'll be out there in December, and then hopefully Ohio Combat League in November, man.
That was Mad Max Metzgar, the first fighter to join Forged in Ohio 4 different times. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. Max has the full package when it comes to MMA, and it's an honor to cover his journey as he rises in combat sports. This was the first leg of the week of 100 episodes for Forged in Ohio. I truly hope you all enjoy the content this week. It wasn't easy, but I know it's going to be super fulfilling, just like the last 2 years of Forged in Ohio have been. Now is a great time to follow the show on social media at Forged in Ohio on Instagram and Facebook. I know we just recently surpassed 1,000 followers on Instagram, so thank you all very much for that milestone as well. I'll be posting daily this week as episodes are released, and I'm assuming that you know all the other ways you can support the podcast, so I'll leave it there. Thanks as always for watching or tuning in. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and I'll see you again tomorrow.